and start. So Carrie, if you want to take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for LunchBreak today. I'm Carrie, and today we'll be talking with artist Weili Shi. Weili is based in New York and uses digital media and artificial intelligence to design artistic experiences for his viewers. Weili's background in computer science, painting, dance, and Zen all influence his work. Today we'll be learning more about his artistic process and what he's been working on recently. If you have questions throughout the talk, you can type them into the Q&A chat box on Zoom, and we'll get to those at the end. So to start off, Weili, can you give us an overview of your work, what mediums you use, and what subjects you focus on?
Thank you, Gary, for introducing me. Yes, hi, everyone. I'm Weili, and my background is in design and computer science. And that's why my creative process usually includes heavy usage of technology, especially computer programming. And the first project I'd like to introduce is related to the traditional Chinese art form of shanshui painting. The word shanshui literally translates as mountain water. It's a Chinese abstraction of natural landscapes, and it has very rich spiritual connotations. And in my project, I call it shanshui in the world. It brings this art form to the contemporary world by generating shanshui paintings based on geographical data of places such as New York City, where shanshui traditionally doesn't exist. So in order to do this, I wrote a program to download and process the information of all buildings in Manhattan. Here you can see the height of all 70,000 buildings plotted on a map. And then I combined adjacent buildings into mountains based on some rules. I then generated the outline of the mountains based on the height of the buildings within them. And I then rendered the mountains in the style of ink wash painting or blue-green shanshui, which are two traditional styles of this art form. So those images were printed on xuan paper or on silk, which are the traditional media of the art form. I then inscribed them with Chinese brushes, those characters, and I carved some seals from stone and with the title of the project and my name, and I imprinted the paintings. So here are the final results. You can see this. The paintings were framed into the traditional format of scrolls. Here, this scroll is a partial view of a long scroll in which you can see the downtown skyscrapers represented as huge mountains. And here on the left, we're looking from Midtown Manhattan to downtown. And on the right, we're looking from Midtown to uptown, where you can see Central Park represented as a lake because there are no buildings within it. Yeah, so this is the first project, shanshui in the world. And the second one I'd like to introduce started with an open question. If images of our planet arouse people's poetic emotions, would an alien planet that resembles our own arouse the same feelings or different ones? To answer it, I used artificial intelligence as my tool for artistic imagination. I trained a neural network with topographical data and satellite images of Earth to learn the relationship between them. And then I applied this knowledge to the topography of Mars. So what will we see? Mars with generated colors of Earth. And here is the result. I call this project Terra Mars, by the way. So it's AI's imagination of Mars based on its topography, but with colors resembling Earth. Maybe this is the future of Mars after our terraformation efforts. And with these projects in mind, I thought, what if I reverse the process? What if I trained neural network with data of Mars and applied knowledge to Earth? What would we see? So this is Martian Earth. You can tell the topography of the continents on Earth, but does the color show us a possible future if we fail to manage the climate change? So these are the two of my recent projects. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you so much. Really fascinating.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about what you've been working on recently?
Sure. So interestingly enough, I've been learning and practicing Chinese calligraphy. Most of my work was done by programming, as you've seen. So even when the outcome was a sensational practice, the creative process was still very much engineering, problem solving. I thought I would benefit a lot from an art form that requires the pursuit of body-mind unity. So therefore, last summer, I finally started practicing Chinese calligraphy, which I had been eager for so long. And this is one of my ways to get close to the spiritual life of those ancient Chinese scholar artists. So these scholar artists practice various forms of amateur arts in their lifetime. So calligraphy is one of them. And I'm very fascinated with this kind of poetry paper they created as a casual but beautiful representation of poetry, calligraphy, and painting all together. So this can be their daily practice, and this can carry various spiritual connotations with the content, because you can write a poem of any topic and you can just paint any subject, right? And normally these paintings are depict plants and animals, but I felt that I may be able to create some new visual content for this practice based on my background. So recently I've been interested in a field called artificial life, which deals with digital and abstracted forms representing some fundamental rules of reproduction. Like this example you see is called Conway's Game of Life, which are just a 2D grid with artificial life forms following a very, very simple form, simple rules, but you can see very rich and complex result. So this kind of things, the tool I use is called serial automata. Very simple rules can often lead to very complex systems. So I feel that if I use this kind of artificial life program to generate visuals based on poems, they may represent the trace of life of these poems. That's what I thought. So this project is still in very early stage, but here is a very simple prototype I've developed for it. The first row you see, those dots actually represents a text from a Chinese poem. It's actually the Unicode, the binary representation of the Unicode of the text. And all the following lines, those interesting patterns are generated based on the first row, row by row, based on some rules. And you can see if I change the rules, the visual patterns are actually different. And some rules generate interesting patterns, some not that interesting. And with this prototype, I printed the generated images on Xuan paper, and I then wrote the text of the same poem on it. So here is a poem about a solitary fisherman, and I think this wave-like image matches it well. And here is a poem about the changes between last spring and this one. With the same peach blossom, the poet couldn't find the same person he used to know. And here is one about the spring view of a war-torn land. So I choose this combination of color and to represent the sensation of the poet. Yeah, so this is what I've been working on.
Thank you. I love that idea of bringing new life to a poem through technology. Again, if any of the participants have questions, please type them into the Q&A box. So to wrap up, where can we see your work next, or where can we look to keep up with what you're doing?
That's a good question in this special
Yeah.
situation. I know that most museums are closed, most galleries as well. And so I've got noticed that some of the very famous electrical art festivals are closed or are postponed. Some of them I'm supposed to participate. Now, maybe the best place to see my work is my website. So my website has a pretty complete catalog of works I've done with related information, images, and art papers I published about those topics. And the new project, the poetry project I just introduced, is not yet there. I'll probably wait until I feel ready to publish those. But with this new opportunity, I feel like this can be a more casual and daily practice. Other than my previous project, each can take quite a few months, if not years, to finish. And this one, maybe I'm going to employ a new style so that I can publish or release a poem or two in a week, maybe on my Instagram or on my Twitter.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Weili, this is by the way, this is Julia Hoel, Director of SciArt, coming in for the Q&A portion of this. So we have a question in from the audience. The question is about how you, as an artist, originally became interested in science and technology and kind of these pieces you make, which involve, artificial intelligence. And so, how did you find yourself working with these kinds of things?
Thank you, Julia. That's an interesting question. And my answer is that I actually came the opposite way. So my original background was engineering and computer science. And then I started my new path on art and design. So the main reason I shifted from a pure engineering background to a more artistic or creative path is that during the process of doing computer science research, I was quite frustrated about the way people evaluate works, because the way you evaluate engineering work is that you have to quantify your project, your performance, and then all your performance or the value of your work will be represented by numbers. And I was suffering because I felt that I don't want to be judged as a number or something. I want to be appreciated according to the creative spirits I can bring about. And so I started my discovery, and I noticed that there is a domain called interaction design, which is like related to computer science, but still more creative. So I decided to go to that path. And along the way, I figured out, there are more and more experimental work that you are able to do outside of this pure design domain. Yeah, so that's how I gradually discovered what I can do with the tools that I have.
Very cool, great. Another question. Can you share any experience or suggestions in how to combine computer-generated art with physically generated art, like calligraphy or painting? So you've shown us some examples, but maybe talk about your experience in making this kind of double-layered work, and any suggestions you might have for people out there who are interested in this kind of thing, trying it on their own.
Yeah, I think this is a very good and difficult question. I can share from my project experience, like those two projects. One is about the shui painting, and the other is my recent poem-based work. So I think the way that I came to the shui painting project was that I was reading a lot about shui painting, the traditional form of art back those days. So maybe I've been thinking about this art form itself for long. And I was doing a lot of generative work back then, but not necessarily related to traditional art form. And very occasionally, in a bus trip back from Washington, D.C. to New York, I just saw the scene outside. There were mountains. And I was just very nostalgic, thinking of home, thinking that I want to see those mountains back in China. But so sad that we don't have shanxi here, this kind of art form here in the US. And I suddenly just realized, hey, I might be able to generate shanxi based on the geographical data of the United States with my tools. And I was very happy about that idea, and then started a few months of exploration. And the result was satisfying to myself. And for the poetry thing, I think the idea also came in, and gradually, not that I started practicing calligraphy, I had this project in mind. I was not that targeted when I started to practice calligraphy. I was probably just thinking maybe it will benefit me spiritually or help me to calm down, just like going into a more zen-like state easily. And more and more, I discovered the depths of this art form and also the breadth it can come to, like various art forms it can participate in. Like calligraphy exists in paintings and in the poetry paper, as I just showed you previously. So those ideas gradually came to my mind, and suddenly the idea of combining this traditional art form with serial automata, which is also another domain that I've been interested in, suddenly just appeared. And after thinking about it for a few weeks or so, I feel that, yeah, this is probably a very meaningful or very promising approach that I can carry on. So I think maybe one suggestion is if you want to find opportunities, you need to really like or love the media or the art form that you're practicing, so that it's in your mind over the days or over the months, years, so that you have a very immersive mindset about this. Then when you see something, you will think in the form of the art form in your mind, and then good ideas may come.
Great. Thank you so much, Weili. Thanks for everyone who joined us and for your questions. It was so interesting to learn more about your process and what you're working on. Our next lunch break will be Wednesday, April 8th at 1 p.m. with artist Emily Garfield. And you can keep up with everything that SciArt is doing by joining our mailing list at sciartinitiative.org, and be sure to keep up with what Weili's doing too. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.